Hey, I'm Dina.
I'm Nikki.
And we're your hosts for CBD Magcast. CBD Magcast is devoted to the legalization of cannabis
and its impact in your community.
Cannabis Concierge, the expert and discreet service of cannabis procurement for the individual or retailer.
These buds are for you.
CBD Magcast Civics brings you
Business Bragging, all about commerce in the cannabis industry.
Hey, Nikki.
Hey, Dina.
How you doing today?
Great. How you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic because we're here at 2020 Solutions and we're going to be interviewing Jackie. Why don't you introduce yourself to our audience and tell everybody what you do and why you do it?
Hi, I'm Jackie Munoz. I purchase for all of the 2020 stores in Washington State. I actually kind of fell into this role, but I absolutely love it. It's a lot of work and it's a lot of fun. Actually more of a relationship building thing as well as procurement. It's been a big learning experience for me.
How many stores are there?
There are 5 2020 stores right now.
Are they all located in Bellingham?
No, we have 3 in Bellingham, 1 in Ephrata, and 1 in Sprague.
Ooh, spread out just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Are you in charge of all of the difference in the demographic for purchasing, or do you guys decide to purchase it across the board similar?
It's a little bit of both. So we try to get as many 2020 vendors similar across the board, but we do have a local feel. So we make sure the 3 Bellingham stores have their own local, about three vendors right now, and same thing with Ephrata. They have about 3 to 5 different local vendors. We have some solid core vendors that all the 2020s have.
Nice. How long have you been doing this?
I've been purchasing now for about a year and a half, 2 years now. I think I hit my 2 year, but I've been with 2020 for over 3 years now. I guess I should say I fell into the cannabis industry in general. I came from retail administration and ended up wanting to go back to school for working on a medical degree. And my friend who just started working at 2020 is like, come over here, it'll be fun, it'll be great, it'll be so different than what you've been used to, and I'll pay for schooling. So I went in, gave them my resume that day. They asked me to come back for an interview, and then I came back for my second interview the next day, and I got the job as a bud tender. And I was like, oh great, this will be fun to pay for my schooling. And I ended up just falling in love with the industry. And then I was a bud tender shift lead for only 4 months, and then I realized there is no organization in this new industry, and they had no idea that they needed administration, they needed organization in the back. So I actually created that position and was that for about another 5 months, putting that from scratch, putting that together, and then realized we didn't have any inventory management as well. So, and that originally was like part of administration, and decided that wasn't going to work long term. So I created the inventory management position. By that time, I was like, would you like to try purchasing after another 4 months? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I jumped into purchasing. Now that's what I've been doing for the longest time that I've been here at 2020. And that was literally learning from scratch. I'd never procured in my life. I feel I have a knack with working with people, which is a big part of this.
I love how in the course of how long did you say you went from every step? So you used to hear your parents say, start in the mailroom and work your way up, and 20 years later you can run the company.
Yeah. And
we're talking about 2 years, and you worked your way from not having known anything bud tending to now you're purchasing product to go into 5 stores. And how much inventory do you purchase, let's say in a month, roughly dollar-wise?
Oh geez, I probably roughly order 140,000 for one store. I mean, I could easily spend thousands of dollars. I would probably say at least $200,000 to $300,000 in purchasing cost. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's a lot of product that we move through. I mean, that is again for 5 stores, and we move a lot of volume. That's kind of our thing.
Expand on that a little bit. We know that every store is different than each other because different people start the stores and with different mindsets. And that's one of the main reasons why we do the business bragging section, is so that we can share your particular model versus others. So in light of that, what is your interest in? Do you do an industry discount? What is your customer discount loyalty program? What do you do for, just like the model you were mentioning?
Yeah, we actually tried a few. The first one we started out with actually punch cards, and then we got a letter one day saying that was no longer allowed. We tried a different program. Actually, our third try was magic. It's been working wonderfully. It's a rewards program through Green Bits that you basically accrue points for every dollar you spend, and then you can literally spend up to 50% off on items at any given time, as long as you follow one rule, which is the legal rule that you can't go below cost plus tax. You can use your points on that product. And our guests absolutely love it. It's been our biggest selling point as a rewards program. And then every day we have different daily specials, as a lot of stores do, but you can really build on that with your points.
which a lot of stores don't do.
Yeah.
It's usually one or the other.
The points basically act as money, as cash. So we see no reason why not to let our guests use what they've earned.
I love that. That's great.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What's the idea behind your locations of stores? Was there any thought given into kind of as you've branched out from one location to another where you were going to go? And what's the difference between the markets that you've seen?
Well, I can definitely answer the last question. The first one was really more Troy, or the owner, would know exactly what he was thinking on picking the locations. Bellingham in general, I know, has that Canadian traffic, which is really nice for us. And even when they legalize, you still can't go over the border with it. So they still have to purchase on this side if they want to partake. And we get a lot of Canadian traffic up here. Mostly the Guide, Meridian, and the Pack Highway stores. Iron Street's more our demographic is the students here. And I guess the demographic, too, for Guide would be the retirees, like Lyndon and stuff like that. We have a lot of people who come in that are older demographic, but they dab a lot, which is so funny, too. Like, our biggest moving store is actually our Iron Street location, but for concentrates, the Guide Meridian store is basically on par with them on sales because we just have so many retirees coming in and wanting those dabs, those cartridges. And it makes me laugh. I think it's so funny.
Can you imagine seeing an older folk getting the torch out, lighting up the, what do you call the...
Yeah, you got your dab rig, you got the nail, you're lighting it up. Yeah. No, it's great. We see a lot of that up there, and it's great. I mean, hey, because people love the idea that it doesn't smell, doesn't stick to you, it's discreet, especially, in the Linden area and stuff like that. It's a little bit more reserved and conservative up there, so...
I think that's just the funniest connection, and that it looks like you're the worst drug addict ever doing it.
And it doesn't have to look that shady anymore either. So I think a lot of them are learning that your dab rig can turn into a discreet vaporizer or e-pen or cartridge nowadays that doesn't look shady. And even you can get like e-nails and stuff like that are really portable and discreet. So I think they really like that part of the dabbing culture.
Yeah, that's very cool. The preferences of all of the different cultures that imbibe in cannabis is so fascinating to watch it change. And I know for me, when I first started in cannabis, explaining how to take a dab to somebody, I was it took me probably a year and a half of working in the cannabis industry to buy my own dab rig. I tried a couple of dabs, but to buy my own dab rig. So I would have a hard time if somebody was like, so what's a dab? I'd be like, I don't even really want to show you what a dab is. Yeah. But now, I mean, it's so much more mainstream, and I feel better about it as well, The stigma of a lot of things that have to do with cannabis has gone away pretty quickly in Washington, I feel like, which is nice.
Yeah, I do have to say, I think the culture, like you said, is changing. It's molding into something new. I think a little bit more acceptable too. You don't see your Rasta colors all over the place. You don't see Bob Marley all over the place. And even then, it's a little bit classier. And it's turning...
Sandalwood instead of Nag Champa,
Yeah, exactly. You don't see your cliche hippie type coming in. You see soccer moms, and you see parents, you see students who just need help sleeping. You need folk who need someone to help them eat. And they're all just your regular Joes. And and you see all colors of life come into these stores. I think even the guests see who's coming in with them, and they realize, oh, okay, cool. This is not some kind of shady drug deal. This is people just looking for something to enjoy the day or help them medically. So it's nice.
It's very nice. Is there anything that 2020 does with the community or special in marketing or advertising to put yourselves out there?
We do a lot of local advertisement, either be like with the Echo paper or even at hotels. We have those little inserts and stuff like that. Once in a while, we'll do something fun with community. I'm trying to think what we did last time. Do work with local advertisement for sure. Nice. We have a huge newsletter that we send out once or twice a week. We get a pretty good opening rate on that. We do texting, has been big. A lot of them do that texting up here, but it's one of our favorite things to do. People love it. It's the newest, coolest form of advertisement for us that people have been really enjoying.
So you'll send out that weekly special via text. Somebody puts in their number, and then, because I get that from a couple different places, and some I understand and some I don't. I find some kind of confusing when I get them. I'm like, I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah, we definitely have to talk about it and figure out how we want to say something. You only get so many letters, right, to play with, and you want to make sure it stands you apart or is a hook. that catches your guest's eye. The one that we're working with eventually will be able to even connect it with our rewards program. So we'll see, hey, why are we going to advertise this person concentrates when they only buy flower, and get really specific per guest and stuff like that. So got to collect more data and go from there. And Jake, our IT guy, is wonderful. He's a magic man with that stuff. And he sends those out. He actually had one sent out today, double rewards points today. And people love that. They eat those points up. So
it does make a huge difference. You'd be surprised what 20% can do for your pocketbook. And I like the idea that you really understand the importance of it so that you don't take it away and go, oh, we're doing just fine.
And you have to keep things fresh. I mean, there's 20 plus stores up here now in a very small vicinity. It's like competitive, and they're doing text blasts as well as daily deals and stuff like that. And they'll have different rewards programs or some kind of discount program that we're not doing. So how do we set ourselves apart and constantly keep doing that? It's a challenge. For sure.
Do you know where you are in the status of the other stores in Bellingham as far as your placement for sales and such?
It depends on the store location. Like Iron Street is our biggest seller. I believe they're number 3 or 4. I could be wrong. I have to check I-502 data. Yeah. Altogether, when we combine all 3, though, we're usually fighting for 1 or 2. Yeah, it's kind of nice to have for locations because they really do work well together and they're different demographics.
And would you be looking to get more licenses should it be possible?
Yes, I know we're looking for more. That's always a fun one though, because you got to find some place that's even willing to either rent the location out or buy it, and then if that county's going to let you even be there. Permits, it's just I can never say a date until I get the green light to purchase. And then I'm like, okay, we're officially going to be opening something new. But I've helped open multiple stores, and it's always a challenge just to get that up and running.
Most people suffer at the construction for it, and you're just trying to get that far.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy, and that's not even really where I specialize in. But I talk to my boss and my boss's boss, and the stories they go through on just trying to get certain permits, or your LCB agent to agree on this or this, and what's going to be okay here and what's not going to be okay over here. So I mean, it really does come down sometimes to your LCB agent in that area, how they translate the rules, since some of them are pretty open-ended sometimes.
Do you purchase everything for 2020 Solutions? Are you the purchasing manager, and you purchase all concentrates, edibles, and flower?
That's correct. I used to also do accessories, but that's kind of grown and blown up pretty quickly, so I actually have given that off to somebody else for now until I can find a way to do that all on my own again. It's weird because there's not a lot of programs to help you out with purchasing in this industry. There's really none.
That's true.
A lot of people are trying to make ordering hubs, but that is still not something to help me keep an eye on my inventory. There's things like top shelf data and I-502 data and headset programs that kind of help you read your inventory now, but they're still pretty new. They're not very accurate per se, but they help. But I've had to create my own ordering Excel sheets basically. This industry runs on so much money, and yet there really is, it feels like I'm running something from late 90s. All the Excel work that you have to do. For a while, our industry was running on Excel while we were going between, was it BioTrack to Leaf. So it's very interesting to see all this money flow through in such an old school manner.
Oh, and all of the cash.
Yeah, so much cash.
So much cash.
Crazy. Not a lot of people have the capability to do anything other than cash too. Even with vendors, not everyone can get checks, or not every store is willing to pay to be able to use cards, because you have to go through so many third parties because of federal ruling and stuff like that. So it's crazy how much cash goes in there, and how we run that cash, and how we track it, and how the state tracks it. It's so old school. So me running 5 stores and inventory balancing with my inventory manager is it's always a challenge, and we're never done upgrading or changing those reorder reports that I've created from scratch, and what's the best way to order. Originally in the beginning, before I was even purchaser, the number one thing was buy bulk, get a discount, buy bulk, or get some kind of special. And you can't do that. That product will go bad, it'll get stale, it'll dry, and then no one's going to sell it, and then you have bad product. It is a produce. Finding out, okay, how many weeks do I want this product in hand, and what's that balance? And I mean, it took me a while. It was just me. But I order now for a 2 to 3 week basis for on-hand inventory, and it keeps it fresh enough, and keeps the menu fresh enough with new strains and stuff like that. Tracking that too, these reorder reports were all I really had for a while. Everything helps, nothing does the full job. I have 3 screens for a reason. Mm-hmm. I gotta look at multiple sources to get the answer I need right now.
We humans need our jobs.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, and you definitely need to put a personal touch on it right now, especially just with working. I work straight with the teams. I call them all the time, talking to the managers constantly, going in and doing that face-to-face interaction. Even though I work here at this office, I'm there a lot, and I'm calling them a lot because at the end of the day, those bud tenders are your front lines. They are the ones that help me make my biggest decisions on picking up vendors. You know, I've come from retail where that wasn't the case. Your front line didn't have any decision in what was being sold, and so it's complete 180 on me, and it was a learning lesson that I need to talk to these people. They know exactly what will sell, what their guests are coming in for, and they help me try product all the time. We're getting samples every day from vendors across the state, and it's a lot of work. There's no way I could do it on my own. My lungs would die. First off, I would die definitely with all that partaking, if you will. So.
But also, too, you're not out there with the customers, and I think that's one of the main reasons why we do the Bud Tender Corner and the culture sessions, because that front line, that bud tender who sees somebody come in all the time and has dialed them in and started to figure out what they like, and that's when I think the prides of being a bud tender is getting to that point with your customers. All of that great information from this huge team.
Oh, that's exactly right.
That reaches your clientele.
Yeah, and they're the ones listening to what these guests want and what they need. Two of our stores are pure medically certified, so when those patients come in, you need to listen. You're trained to listen and hear what they need, and some things aren't even available for me to buy yet. I've gotten a request for THV, which is an appetite suppressant cannabinoid, and it's no one's making that yet, but the demand's there, and I've been telling all my people, hey, next thing, CBD is great, CBG, CBN has been popping up. Okay, I need the next thing. CBC has been great. We have been seeing a little bit of that lately, which has been really good. Being able to get that information from the team really helps me, because then I'm directly talking to these vendors who don't know, because they're not on the front line. And so they think not anymore, they know to listen to me. But in the beginning, they thought they knew what people wanted. And it's completely different than what I think the black market had told them.
Yeah.
And then again, those bud tenders are the ones, they'll sell what they like. They sell what they know is good. They are very honest. They don't want to sell anything that is not up to their standard to the guests, and that's why I can't bring that in, right? I can only bring what sells and what the bud tenders know will sell. Yes, I look at the numbers. Yes, I use that as a tool, but anytime we bring a new vendor, it's going to come down to what the team feels they need and what they feel they can sell.
What is your personal vision for the cannabis industry?
My goal is hopefully to see more medical-based products, more medical-based testing. I would love to see the testing facilities be regulated more. I think that's a huge thing we're missing right now. It should be regulated. We need pesticide testing on all products. I can't believe that it's not a thing yet. And all the testing practices should be similar across the state, because right now the testing is just all over the place. And it unfortunately is used a lot in selling product. We try not to play off the numbers. We try to play even off terpenes would be great. And I would like to see the industry go more toward education and terpene profiles and the entourage effect per terpene profiles, instead of playing by the number. That number is just hurting everybody. Well, I'll buy product. I buy product. I don't care if it's 15%. I'll buy it as long as I know it's fire and it's tested well, because my bud tenders will be able to sell it. But I always ask, hey, give me some kind of material that I can push, either on what kind of effect this will be, what's the terpene profile. I'd like to see more of the industry go that way. That's my goal, as well as have more specific testing. And that comes down to just education as well. I'd love to see the industry maybe have more of a title, a bud tender almost, they have to go through some kind of training.
For sure.
Because especially if you're medically certified, that's great, you get medically certified, but it doesn't cover everything still. It really doesn't. It covers such basics, and I'd love to see anyone who's going to be basically giving a medical advice to have way more education. But that isn't the case yet, and I'd love to see that. But like we were saying earlier, 3 months in this industry feels like, a year or 2 years. So, and there's a lot of trial and error that comes with that. And we've learned a lot. Our team is amazing. We're very picky who we bring in, and they're very passionate about what they're selling. And it really makes a difference. And I think that's why the guests come back. They like that we actually care. And I'm not saying that we're the only ones who do. It's just it's nice to have that kind of interaction. You don't go to a BevMo and get that kind of feel, right? Yeah, right. And I agree with you. This is for enhancing their lives or somehow making it better. That means that comes care, compassion, and empathy.
Yeah, I think that's great. Had some really good suggestions, I think, for future cannabis procedures. And compliance is a big thing in cannabis, and it always will be, but figuring out what we're being compliant with is kind of where the area is so muddled. It's not just gray,
it's muddled.
It's muddled.
That's a great word to put it.
Right.
And I'm hoping one day the rules will get more specific. They'll get a little bit more clear.
And be beneficially clear. Again,
Yes.
get to the point where we're actually doing ourselves a favor with the laws as opposed to just putting laws on the books because there needs to be. Because again, I think at this point there's a lot of self-stewardship that's going on to try to be best practices. And everybody is in this for the betterment and the success, sustainability, and the joy that they just find that this industry needs to be held on to and carried upon our shoulders with in a way. It's quite amazing.
How can we make this a fluid business? This is a big growing business. That is what this is. And some of these people came into this industry thinking it's going to be easy just to sell weed and make money. And no, this is now a business practice. You have to know how to run your books. You have, as well as serve the guests. It's got to be two parts there at least. Some people have learned that, some people have not, unfortunately. That's the thing right now with the rules and regulations, and it has made it hard sometimes to run a business with all these different regulations. Quarantine is a great example. Getting rid of quarantine has helped so many of our vendors be able to schedule better and get product in a more timely fashion. Returns and inventory management has been huge because of that. That's just one example. There's all the little things that still need some tweaking, still need some changes. We're getting there. It does help us run a business better, which means we can provide better and we can expand and grow.
That's probably the biggest fear. We don't want you to expand and grow yet. We don't know what you're expanding and growing into.
And that's the thing too. It's picking vendors is tough because you have to also think long term. You have to make sure you find out, hey, is this going to be a relationship that I can grow and work with for years to come? And I know this year's particularly tough for a lot of vendors, a lot of retailers. Picking that vendor, they may have fire, but if something where I feel like their business strategy isn't on the same level, or they're not as organized as we need them to be, or they're just not pleasant to work with sometimes. You have to have a little bit of everything in there so that we can make sure that you can last with us, because we want to go long term. We don't want to be here just for a few years. We want to be here for 50. We want to grow, and that means our vendors need to be on that same level with us. It's tough because there's a lot of good product out there now. It's gotten so much better over every year. What makes you stand out can't just be the product anymore. It has to be the packaging, it has to be your marketing strategy, it has to be how you present, what's your consistency, what's your failure rates versus others that we have on hand, and how do you stand out? Because we don't just buy one order and then say, sorry, that was it. We want to make sure you stand out and can hold your own on our shelves long term.
There's something to be said for that in the beginning model, but then there's also a growth that I think stores are going to go through, and they're going to figure out different ways to bring in these small farms.
And it's great that you brought up smaller growers and stuff like that. I actually love working with them as long as, again, they have potential to grow and are organized. Like I said, we have so many stores up here. What sets you aside is also who you sell. So what I like to do is bring people who are not really up here yet, or who are very little stores. It keeps us apart. We are very picky, so whoever we do bring in is going to be good. It's going to be great stuff. And also helps out the little businesses who may not have started when Fat Panda did and knew that branding was going to be such a big thing in Washington State, because branding is huge. And we love to help them. We have a graphic designer, who, if he has time, he'll help them out with anything. And we've worked with some really great smaller vendors that are doing wonderfully for us. So, and we play with the big guys too. That's great. That's definitely needed. It is what it is in this industry. But it's having that mixture of the right mix balance.
I think that's a great experience, going into a store and not seeing anybody I've ever seen before and go, who's doing this?
Exactly. And who's coming back for your product, and how consistent is your product? Consistency can either make or break you. If you have so many cool strains, but only 2 of them are actually really good and the rest are subpar, it's going to be a tough one to keep you moving. We'll work our magic, we'll try marketing, we'll text blast, we'll do newsletters, but you have to have that consistent, high quality product for the whatever reasonable price we feel you can sell. When I think about looking into a new vendor, we do this very extensive online review system. I think you might have seen that. And we do kind of a star system and everything. And I don't tell them what I would be potentially buying the product out. I want to see what they could sell it for. And that's a big part I look at. I'm like, hey, okay, they think they can sell it as a 12. It's a really expensive one. I'd probably have to sell it at 15, then it's not going to work out. And this is where it comes back with that communication with the teams. I do like our review system. It works very well, and it helps me out a lot.
That sounds awesome. Let's go ahead and ask, what's your favorite personal cannabis story?
Ooh, my first dab. I remember my friend, I got into this, I just started working in 2020, and all I had done is smoked flower. And I was like, okay, gotta try everything, and I love edibles, that's fine. But, okay, let's do a dab. Oh, man. They gave me a really big one. My friends were good friends and gave me a nice fat dab for my first dab. I just remember time slowing down. Like, after that first coughing fit, I was just... What time was it? Where am I? Completely gone. And it was a fun experience. I think every time I teach now someone how to do a dab, though, I definitely tell them to take a small one to try. My friends are great friends. But I just remember just how crazy time had just slowed. I'd never had that effect in my life before. Yeah, that first dab I'll never forget. It was just, I just sat on the couch, everyone was laughing and looking at me, and I just had my hands on my side just staring, just like, what is going on? Good times. Good times.
That's great. I had a similar experience. Probably not my first dab, but one of my first dabs, it's like, what just happened? Can't feel my body. And that was actually the first time that I considered being like an older person with very severe daily pain, just like miserable trucking through the day. Mm-hmm. And I remember feeling like I can totally imagine why somebody would want to feel like this. I didn't necessarily want to feel like that at the time, but that was for me just like a feeling of like, I kind of knew what I was getting into. I knew I had just taken a really big dab and overestimated myself. And I was, just very like, okay, I really want to shake this off, but I can see why somebody might want to be there for after a long day or whatever somebody might be going through. But.
I remember my first cannabis experience ever, and I was one of those people who was like, oh, it didn't work, and then nothing happened because I didn't actually know how to inhale.
Sure.
And then the second time I was watching some kind of like romantic comedy with my friend, and I was like, okay, I'll try it again. And that was the funniest movie I'd ever seen. I laughed constantly, and then I think I rewatched the movie, and it's not a good movie. But that movie was the funniest movie I've ever seen to this day. And it was a great first actual experience smoking. And exactly that. I could see why people would enjoy this. It was definitely an eye-opening experience for me. I was really happy to be able now to provide that to people just for recreational use or for medical. It's great.
Heck yeah.
Right
awesome. On. Awesome stuff.
Cool. Well, I think that's fantastic. We really appreciate you having you on for the business bragging section with 2020 Solutions. Thank you so much, Jackie. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. This was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for being here.
CBD Magcast and Cannabis Concierge are a division of Confidential Monkey Enterprises.
Visit us at www.CannabisBeyondDope.com.